The SMSL RAW-HA1 is an incredibly good speaker amp for its price. But the marketing is all wrong and people are probably overlooking it. Maybe you had. This is not a headphone amp. I've seen it referred to as a headphone amp and speaker amp. I've even seen some retailers list it as just a headphone amp. It's not. The name RAW-HA1 could have stood for headphone amplifier, HA, but it doesn't. It couldn't. But let's not talk about what it's not. Let's talk about what it is. It's the best affordable speaker amp that I've tried since I started reviewing affordable speaker amps. At least that's mostly true, and I'll explain the wrinkle a little bit later. All you need to know to get us rolling is that the SMSL RAW-HA1 sounds brilliant as a speaker amp, and that's how we're going to look at it today. That might raise the question of why I'm being so specific about this, so let's clear the air on that right away. The headphone outputs from the RAW-HA1 are pitiful, as in they shouldn't even be there. They're incredibly underpowered, and they sound a bit thick and muddy. Both the 6.3mm and the 4.4mm outputs are connected to the same circuit, so it doesn't matter which one you use, they're both dreadful. And so your best bet is to pretend that they're not even there, and that's what we're going to do. There, perfect. Instead, let's focus on everything that's great about the RAW-HA1, and there's lots. For $250 US, you're getting a Class D speaker amp with Infineon amplification chips. Those are paired up with a CS43131 DAC chip from Cirrus Logic and a 3rd generation XMOS USB receiver. What all that combines to mean is that you can feed a USB-C input into the RAW-HA1 to decode things like DSD256 or high sample rate 768 kHz PCM files. Now, if those things don't mean anything to you, don't worry too much about it, it's got everything you need. There's also Bluetooth receiving capabilities, including LDAC and aptX HD, and then of course there's also things like optical inputs, coaxial inputs, and even HDMI ARC if you want to use this for TV sound or gaming sound. So the RAW-HA1 is realistically a very capable DAC and speaker amp combo. Thankfully, there are also RCA analog inputs, so you can feed this sound from some sort of external DAC. I say thankfully because feeding the HA1 from a really high quality external DAC can make it sound even better still. So let's talk a bit about that sound. Using a flagship external DAC like the Chord Dave, being fed by the Chord M scaler, which is receiving a signal via a tubulous Consensus USB cable, and then feeding out from the Dave via a pair of Curious RCA cables, starts to show us exactly what the HA1 is capable of. The imaging is excellent, and the soundstage is wide and deep, especially for a budget speaker amp. I'm driving the ProAC Response D2 speakers here, which are middle of the pack in terms of sensitivity, and the quoted 85 watts of power output into 8 ohms from the HA1 is allowing me lots and lots of headroom for great moderate level listening with no stress on the amp. The HA1's not going to fill a stadium with sound, but for small rooms and for living rooms, it's going to have plenty of power for most people's needs. More impressive though than its power is its tonal character. It's got a very neutral sound. It's neither thick nor lean, it's just in a nice place in the middle. That's without any EQ applied, and so it's worth noting here that the RAW-HA1 does have a number of different EQ presets, or you can use the tone controls for bass and treble to spice up the sound of the HA1 if you need it. What I love about the sound of the HA1 though, is that there's no sense of the veil or the muddiness or the thickness or the lack of resolution that I've heard in some other equivalently priced amplifiers. Some of those other cheap Class D amplifiers give you the opportunity to roll op amps or swap out the chips that do some of the amplification process in order to improve their sound. The RAW-HA1 doesn't offer that feature, but it doesn't need it. It sounds great just as it is. And so it means you can buy this $250 amp and enjoy it straight away without spending a further $150 perhaps on a set of op amps that you then have to pull apart the amp and install them inside. You just buy the HA1, you plug it in, and you enjoy your music. The treble is very crisp from the ProAC D2s on this track, as it should be, and the bass is solid and clean too. It's not particularly full or weighty, but that's this recording. Annie Lennox's vocals are velvety but textured, but what I really can't stop focusing on is the imaging. It's impressively holographic for a very budget amplifier. swapping over to Pussycat Dews proves that the treble brightness that I heard in the walk is just the track itself, because the tonality throughout the range is perfect on this track. The imaging and the tonality of everything is so spot on that listening to Pussycat Dews, the right speaker just turned into a trombone. I can't stress enough how impressive this is for its price. It's hard to imagine that sound could actually get better than this. But let's also remember that I was feeding it for this testing from one of the best DACs you can buy. Things aren't quite as good when using the internal DAC, but they're far from bad. What you lose out with when you go from a premium external DAC to using the internal Cirrus Logic DAC is that incredible sense of holographics. Now on Pussycat Dews, the right speaker sounds like a speaker playing a trombone instead of actually being the trombone. The stage is also a little less wide and it's lost most of its sense of depth and layering. The tonality and character of the sound is still excellent. It's just more in keeping now with the performance of many of the other affordable amps that I've tried in terms of things like staging. The difference though is that most of those other affordable amps up to and around this price required that I had to use an external DAC. With the RAW-HA1, you have the choice. This will give you great sound from your TV, your gaming console, your Wii Pro-like streamer, your PC or your Mac. And then, if you want to do some serious listening, you can plug in an external higher quality DAC and be totally blown away by what it can do. I am properly shocked by how good the HA1 sounds when fed by a high quality DAC. And it's for that reason that I think the SMSL RAW-HA1 is probably, in fact, I'd say definitely my absolute favorite all-in-one DAC and speaker amp combo that I've ever tried, at least around this price. Now I am specifying there, and this is the wrinkle I alluded to earlier, I'm specifying there that it's the best all-in-one DAC and speaker amp combination because I've also got here at the moment the 3E Audio A7 speaker amp, which is just a pure speaker amp for the same price as the HA1. The A7 is some strong competition for the amplification capabilities of the HA1, but the A7 is a pure amplifier, it's got none of the extra features. And so it fills a different need for some people. It's got some additional amplification features that some of you may need, others may not. And so be sure to subscribe if you want to see my review of the 3E Audio A7. For now though, I've got links in the description where you can pick up the HA1 for yourself. If this is the sort of device you're looking for, look no further, just go get it. And if you want to match it up with a DAC that's going to lift its performance significantly without costing a lot of money, then watch this video next for my review of the SMSL RAW-DAC1. That plus the RAW-HA1 is going to be a match made in heaven. For now though, thank you to YouTube channel members, thank you to channel Patreon members, and thank you to those of you who leave super thanks on videos like this one. And until next time, happy listening, be kind to each other, and I'll see you here again soon on Passion for Sound.